LoveLore Library. Chapter 375. All the rooms in the villa are occupied. All the members are mutants. Although you're a woman, this is the apocalypse. Only capable people can live in spacious rooms. Xiaoqing turned around and threw 2 blankets into the cubicle. It had been a long time since anything was placed in the cubicle. When he threw the blankets in, the dust hit Tang Guo's face, causing her to choke and quickly retreat. Xiaoqing looked at her disheveled appearance and whistled as he left. After a while, Xiaoqing carried 2 buckets and placed them in front of her. There were many dirty clothes inside. Washing clothes is your job. That's the kitchen. I'll leave the cooking to you. Xiaoqing looked up and sized up the entire villa. The corners of his mouth curled up. I'll leave the cleaning of the villa to you. These are all your responsibilities. This is too much. Is it? Xiaoqing's face darkened. If you don't want to do it, you can follow us to kill zombies. Tang Guo fell silent and said softly, then I'll try it for 2 days. Xiaoqing already knew that she would agree. He snorted and went back to his room happily. Dear host, do you really want to do it? This kind of rough work is not suitable for your identity. Tang Guo looked up, walked into the cubicle, and closed the door. After transmigrating through so many worlds, even if I was a female supporting character with a tragic ending, I really don't need to do laundry, cleaning, and cooking. Tang Guo looked at the small cubicle and laughed. I've never lived in such a small room before. Dear host, you've been wronged. Why don't you go to Shi Cheng's place? He's quite a straightforward person. I don't think he has any ill intentions. Tongzi, when did you become so lazy? I just feel sorry for dear host. Even if it's just an act, you don't need to work so hard. Okay, I know you care about me, but I still have to continue this act. The cubicle was quickly cleaned up. Tang Guo walked out and carried 2 buckets of clothes to the balcony. Sure enough, she saw a washing machine there. There was a washing machine, but she had to wash it herself. She threw the clothes into the washing machine, pressed the switch, turned on the water, stirred, and the washing began. She glanced at the entire villa and narrowed her eyes. Cleaning, right? She wet the mop but didn't wring it dry. It was wet all over the floor. The floor of the villa was originally made of wooden planks. Because there was too much water, it reflected light and looked like it was flooded. The system was dumbfounded. It knew that the host wouldn't work honestly, but it didn't expect her to do this. Host, you might get beaten up later. If I really knew how to cook, then my character would be ruined. The original owner's character was a rich young lady who didn't know how to cook, wash clothes, or clean. System, is that so? Host, when have you ever cared about your persona? Didn't they all break down quite badly? As they continued to act, they broke down. Xiaoqing slept for half an hour and prepared to come down to see how the woman was doing. Who knew that just as she stepped on the stairs, she slipped and her whole body rolled down the stairs. Thump, 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 thump. She was so energetic. Tang Guo was standing at the bottom of the stairs. She saw Xiaoqing fall in front of her with her own eyes and wished her a happy new year. Xiaoqing exclaimed. He felt that someone was looking at him. He looked up and saw a pale face. He quickly turned over. Only then did he realize that the floor was wet. He looked at the wet mop in the woman's hand and was furious. What are you doing? Mopping the floor, the woman said weakly. Chapter 376. Xiaoqing was really depressed. He never knew that someone would mop the floor without wringing the mop dry. He suspected that it was a mistake to let this woman clean. Did I do something wrong? I'm sorry. Xiao Qing was speechless. That's enough. Xiao Qing frowned. She was really a rich missy who didn't know anything. He took the mop, wrung it dry again and continued to mop the floor. Tang Guo watched him mop. After Xiao Qing was done, he asked, "Do you know how to do it now? Do it like this in the future." As a result, he saw Tang Guo's confused face. What? Xiao Qing rubbed his temples and threw the mop aside. It's almost time for dinner. They'll be back soon. Go and cook. Tang Guo went to the kitchen. There were rice, noodles, and some meat. There were no vegetables. There were many cans of different kinds at the side. The Sunshine team's life in the base was considered pretty good. Yan Yi went downstairs and saw a depressed Xiao Qing. He asked, "What's wrong?" "Boss, you're still asking what's wrong. You brought back a woman who doesn't know anything." Xiao Qing finally found someone to complain to. How did she survive until now? She didn't even wring the mop dry and made water all over the floor. Yan Yi was stunned. He said instinctively, "She doesn't know how to do it." He wanted to ask why a rich missy like her would know these things. Suddenly, he remembered why he brought her back. Then Xiao Qing should teach her more. Otherwise, she won't even know the basic life skills. Where did she go? Yan Yi didn't see Tang Guo and asked. Xiao Qing pointed to the kitchen. "I asked her to cook." Cook? Yan Yi was stunned. He had a bad feeling and hurried to the kitchen. Seeing the scene in front of him, he stood there. Xiao Qing followed him and saw the scene in the kitchen. He almost cursed out loud. "What are you doing?" Tang Guo stirred the rice and noodles with a spatula. She looked very innocent. Cooking. The veins on Xiao Qing's forehead were about to pop out. Cooking. How the hell was this cooking? Who told her that cooking involved putting rice and flour together? Cooking. What's over there? Xiao Qing looked at the square-shaped pieces of meat, and the premonition in his heart grew worse. Tang Guo said excitedly, "I see that there is a lot of beef. Let's make a steak." Steak. He still had red wine. Xiao Qing looked at Yan Yi with a hopeless expression. "Boss, this is the person you brought back. She wanted to make steak." He wondered when she would ask them for red wine. That piece of beef was enough to last them for 2 days. If it weren't for Yan Yi, Xiao Qing would have driven Tang Guo out on the spot. The system side at the side, the host has portrayed the essence of a young lady who doesn't know anything. It's the kind that makes people hate her, and it's also very annoying. While stirring the pot, Tang Guo discussed with the system, "Actually, this rice paste is quite delicious. They'll understand in a while. My cooking skills are pretty good." Gradually, a fragrance wafted out of the pot. Xiao Qing was stunned. Was this possible? Yan Yi's eyes flashed as he stared at the white paste in the pot. Although the cooking method was unimaginable, it smelled good. The two of them wanted to stop her, but they suddenly had the idea of waiting. When the rice paste was out of the pot, Tang Guo scooped a bowl for Yan Yi and said with anticipation, "Yi, do you want to try it first?" Chapter 377. Xiao Qing stretched his neck and looked into the pot. He didn't wait for Tang Guo's order and scooped a bowl himself. He didn't care that it was too hot and gulped it down. There was a layer of white paste around his mouth, but his face was strangely satisfied. "It's quite delicious." Yan Yi saw that Xiao Qing was enjoying the soup and took a sip. He was stunned by the taste. It was indeed delicious. Xiao Qing's gaze towards Tang Guo softened a lot, although he still didn't like her. "Ah, Yi, is it good?" Looking at the woman's expectant eyes, Yan Yi's face became cold. Since you can cook, you'll be responsible for cooking for the team from now on. Seeing the woman's disappointment, Yenny took the bowl and left. Food was precious in the apocalypse. No matter how much he disliked this woman, he wouldn't waste food. I really didn't leave Aoi. I went to find medicine for him. He had a high fever and I didn't know what to do, Tanghua explained in a low voice. I don't know why he didn't believe me. Maybe he misunderstood when he woke up and found that I was gone. By the way, there was a woman who helped me look after Aoi. She told me to go to the pharmacy. That's why I dared to let Aoi stay in the villa and go to the pharmacy alone. I didn't expect that he was gone when I came back. If we can find that woman, we can explain it clearly. Xiao Qing looked at the depressed Tanghua and his heart softened. But he quickly put away his sympathy. Maybe this woman was just acting and wanted to seek the boss's protection. The boss already had Nian Nian. This woman couldn't destroy the relationship between the boss and Nian Nian. I think the boss doesn't like you anymore. You'd better not bother him. Besides, the boss already has someone he likes. She's a very powerful psychic. Xiao Qing stared at Tanghua and said, "You're just an ordinary person. You're not qualified to stand beside the boss. And in that situation, you leaving the villa was tantamount to abandoning the boss." He didn't believe that such a timid woman would have the courage to go out and find medicine. Xiao Qing glanced at the cut beef and said, "You'd better continue to make steak. It should taste good." I thought the host would destroy all the food. The system was a little confused. Tanghua smiled. Mopping the floor without wringing the mop dry. I just wanted to teach Xiao Qing a lesson. His attitude towards me was very unfriendly. I was just a little angry, that's all. I don't really want to mop the floor. A rich young lady like me doesn't need to know everything. I just need to be good at one thing. In the long run, many people will stand on my side. How was she going to achieve her goal if she incurred the disgust of the team? She wanted everyone except Yan Yi and Yan Yan to like her and have a good impression of her. They felt that she was pitiful, but because she had abandoned Yan Yi before, they couldn't speak up for her. It was impossible for her to go out and kill zombies. She didn't kill her own kind. System, hee, is that so? The host was getting more and more insincere. Previously, she even told Meng Jing to kill zombies casually. Tanghua skillfully fried the steak and smiled, "I also want to live here. The food in the apocalypse is too disgusting, so I have to cook it myself." System, that should be the main point. There were originally 7 people in the Sunshine Squad, but now there were 8 including her. There were 4 people in the villa, so she only fried 4 pieces. Chapter 378. Tanghua ate her fill in the kitchen before cooking for Yan Yi, Xiao Qing, and Qin Jiaran. The other person was a woman called Qin Jiaran. Xiao Qing had already smelled the aroma and was waiting at the door. This woman was annoying, but the food she made was delicious. Xiao Qing thought and looked at Tanghua eagerly. Seeing her put 3 pieces of steak on the plate, he couldn't wait to take them. "You take them to Jiaran, and I'll take them to boss." Seeing Tanghua's disappointed eyes, Xiao Qing was a little embarrassed, as if he had made a mistake. He took the steak and went to her. Tanghua knocked on the door of Qin Jiaran's room. The door was opened, and a cold beauty with a clean appearance walked out. She glanced at Tanghua and saw the rice paste and steak in Tanghua's hands. "For me?" "Yes." Qin Jiaran took it and said coldly, "Thank you." When Tanghua came to the villa, Qin Jiaran was the only one who didn't show any expression. After she turned and walked away, Qin Jiaran closed the door. She was a cold-faced but polite person. With nothing to do, Tangguo sat on the sofa in the living room in a daze. Xiaoqing wanted to ask her to dry the clothes, but he remembered that she was a good cook and that he had stopped her from bringing food to Yan Yi. He felt a little uncomfortable, so he turned and dried the clothes. Xiaoqing went to the living room and chose a seat far away. He touched his nose and said, "You'll be in charge of cooking from now on." He didn't expect this rich young lady to be so good at cooking. It was just that the way she cooked was a little unacceptable. After swallowing the rice paste, he only felt warm and comfortable in his stomach. Thinking that he could eat such food in the future, he must exchange more rice and flour. "Don't you need to mop the floor?" Xiaoqing laughed in his heart. He was afraid that she would flood the villa, so he said, "No." "Don't you need to wash the clothes?" Xiaoqing laughed. She threw all the clothes into the washing machine. Even if it was the end of the world, she still had to divide them. "No." "Well, then I'll cook. I really don't know anything else, but I do have some talent in cooking." Tangguo pursed her lips. "I don't eat much either, so I won't go out. I won't be a burden to you." Hearing this, Xiaoqing felt a little sour in his heart. It was indeed not easy for such a beautiful girl to live in the apocalypse. Perhaps she had abandoned boss because she was afraid. One after another, the other team members, except for Yan Yan, returned. Everyone who ate Tangguo's food was very surprised. The young lady who had never done any household chores actually cooked so well. Everyone looked at each other and reached a consensus. Actually, it was good to keep her alive. At this time, it was already good to have food. It was really not easy to make such delicious food with such little food. Just based on her craftsmanship, if others knew about it, they would probably fight for it. They all tacitly agreed that Tangguo was only responsible for cooking 2 meals and did not need to care about anything else. Yan Yan finally returned. When she entered, she saw Tangguo talking and laughing with everyone. She was stunned. Seeing Tangguo look back at her, a chill rose from the soles of her feet. How was she still alive? This was Yan Yan's first thought. Shouldn't she be dead? This was Yan Yan's second thought. What should she do now? Yan Yan's heart was in a mess. At this time, Yan Yi came down the stairs. She clenched her fists and walked towards Yan Yi. Chapter 379. Yan Yi smiled at her and she heaved a sigh of relief. She immediately thought of a way to pretend that she didn't know him. This is... Yan Yan looked at Tangguo in confusion and asked, "Is someone from our team here again?" At the same time, Tangguo also came to Yan Yan and looked at her in surprise. She grabbed Yan Yan's arm and said, "So you're here." Her eyes were filled with anticipation. "Please help me explain to Yi that I only went to get the medicine for him and didn't abandon him. You were there too, right?" Yan Yan's heart sank and her face was tense. She tried hard to control her expression and looked at Tangguo in confusion. Looking at Tangguo's expectant face, Yan Yan continued to ask, "Who are you?" "I don't know you." "And what do you want me to explain?" "You were at the villa back then. You were the one who told me that the pharmacy wasn't far from the villa. You said that you would help me look after Yi while I went to get the medicine. Have you forgotten all this?" Yan Yan frowned. "Miss, are you sure you saw me?" "I'm sure I didn't see you." Yan Yan was very glad that she hadn't told Tangguo her name. "Since you know me, please tell me my name, and who are you questioning me and what do you want me to explain to Yi?" Tangguo couldn't answer the questions at all. She had only seen this woman once and didn't know her name. She stood there speechlessly and just repeated that Yan Yan had indeed helped her look after Yi before she went to get the medicine. However, no one believed her words. The members of the Sunshine team all thought that she was possessed. Please, can you help me explain? He doesn't believe me. The woman put on a pitiful look with her beautiful face, and it was easy to soften one's heart. Can you believe me this once? Can you explain it to me? The woman suddenly remembered that she had exchanged jade pendants with Yen Yen. By the way, you even exchanged medicine with me for a jade pendant. That jade pendant is my family heirloom. If it wasn't to save I would never have given it to you. I remember that Yen Yen did have a jade pendant. Qin Jiaran suddenly said, Yen Yen, take out the jade pendant and let her see who's innocent. As a team, we still need to clarify who's innocent. Yen Yen felt a little resentful. This Qin Jiaran had never been on good terms with her. This was a very smart woman. Today, if she didn't take out the jade pendant to prove it, it wouldn't do. Everyone stared at Yen Yen. It wasn't that they doubted their own members, but that this matter wasn't ordinary. It concerned a particularly important person in their team. Under everyone's expectant gazes, Yen Yen took out the jade pendant from her neck and handed it to Tanghua. Look, is this your jade pendant? Everyone looked at the jade pendant and turned to look at Tanghua. Tanghua stared at the jade pendant in a daze for a moment. No. Looking at her expression, everyone understood what was going on. I said I don't know you. Yen Yen frowned. Who is she? She grabbed Yen Yi's arm. I heard that a very beautiful woman came a few days ago. Don't tell me you've taken a fancy to her. I'm Yi's fiancé. Tanghua reacted. She felt a sense of crisis and said nervously. Yen Yen turned to Yen Yi, waiting for his answer. Chapter 380. Facing the two women's gazes, Yen Yi didn't hesitate at all. He held Yen Yen's hand and looked at the woman's incredulous gaze. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. My girlfriend is Yen Yen, and my future wife is also Yen Yen. Tanghua took 2 steps back and was in a daze. She was complaining to the system in her heart. He finally said it. But she pretended to be hurt. Is clearly enough. If you still want to stay here, please be aware of your identity, Miss Tang. I really didn't abandon you. I don't know why she said that, Tanghua explained anxiously. She suddenly thought of something and stared at Yen Yen with bright eyes. Did you lie to them because you like Yen Yi sneered and shouted, Tanghua. Yen Yi didn't feel anything when he was stared at by this woman. Thinking that the little hand he was holding was warmer, he placed Yen Yen's hand over his heart. His expression was warm as he said softly, I'll say it again. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. My girlfriend now is Yen Yen, understand? If you dare to do anything to Yen Yen and disturb her, then get out of the villa. Looking at the stunned woman, Yen Yi held Yen Yen's hand and went upstairs. He had no intention of softening his heart. Tanghua stood there with her head lowered. At an angle that no one could see, the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. This is the bad thing about inheriting feelings. You're so immersed in everything and feel sad. So pitiful. I can feel how her heart is slowly breaking. If the host feels sad, she can choose not to inherit feelings. Then it's meaningless. Only by inheriting all the feelings can you enjoy the pleasure of revenge. System, you're a pervert, a devil. When the host is in a bad mood, I can play videos for you. They're all the times your exes spoiled you. Tanghua whispered, this is the apocalypse. They don't exist. By the way, who are they? System, I don't want to talk. She really hoped that there would be a warm man in the apocalypse who would spoil the host very much. This greedy host, once no one in the world could warm her heart, she would become more and more perverted, more and more indifferent, and more broken. Since boss doesn't like you anymore, and he's with Yan Yan now, I think we should forget about it. Xiao Qing saw the woman lowering her head and felt pity for her. It was not easy to survive in the apocalypse. You brought this upon yourself. Yan Yan clearly didn't know her, but she still wanted to push the blame onto Yan Yan. This made his good impression dissipate a lot. The other team members did the same. Without saying a word to Tanguo, they turned around and returned to their rooms. Only Tanguo and Qin Jiaran were left in the living room. Qin Jiaran walked up to her and patted her on the shoulder. Tanguo raised her head and looked at the cold beauty in front of her. This is the end of the world. You should learn to love yourself. It doesn't matter if you abandoned Yan Yi or if you had other reasons. The most important thing is to survive. Feelings are a joke in this post-apocalyptic world. Only if you are strong enough can you have a foothold here. With that, Qin Jiaran didn't wait for Tanguo's reply and turned to go upstairs. Only Tanguo was left in the living room. She looked in the direction where Qin Jiaran disappeared with a slight smile and said softly, "I like this cold beauty, Qin Jiaran." She once said the same thing to the host. Unfortunately, the host didn't listen. Chapter 381. In the following days, Tanguo would go to Yan Yi to explain to him when she was free. Her pitiful appearance really made her look like a weak little white flower. However, the more she acted like this, the colder Yan Yi was to her, which improved his relationship with Yan Yan. The plot was similar to the original development. Tanguo, the tainted fiancé, was their relationship multiplier. She only needed a little more perseverance. Once she dug her own grave again, the relationship between the two of them would be unbreakable. This time, the team had to go to a distant place to collect supplies. Leaving Tanguo alone in the villa, the team members were afraid of danger. In the original plot, the team had brought Tanguo along because she had begged. This time, the team members had taken the initiative to bring her along. Because the food she cooked was really delicious. Even if she had a tainted past, she was now an ordinary person. What could she change? Their boss and Yan Yan's relationship was getting better and better. They weren't afraid that Tanguo would do anything to ruin their relationship. In the original plot, they went out to collect supplies this time. They went to a warehouse far away where zombies gathered. There were many daily necessities and food stored inside. It was also this time that the original owner was completely disgusted by Yan Yi and hated her to death. After entering the warehouse, there was a conflict with the zombies. Suddenly, a particularly powerful zombie appeared and went for Yan Yan. The original owner's heart gradually collapsed because Yan Yan refused to admit that she had seen her and even took over Yan Yi. Seeing the zombie attack Yan Yan, the pleasure of revenge rose in her heart. She wanted Yan Yan to die here so that Yan Yi would look back at her. Thus, she did something stupid and stopped Yan Yi, who was going to help Yan Yan, causing Yan Yan to be kidnapped by that powerful zombie. Yan Yi pushed the original owner away and happened to push her into the zombie crowd. He turned around and chased after Yan Yan. The original owner was pushed into the zombie crowd, and the secret that the zombies didn't bite her was also discovered by the team members. Later, Yan Yi brought Yan Yan back and found out about this matter, which set the stage for pushing Tanguo out in the future. After this, Yan Yi became more and more disgusted with Tanguo, so he would not hesitate to let her replace Yan Yan and hand her over to the Sunset Base. The zombie that took Yan Yan away was a level 5 zombie. He had already awakened his own consciousness and was an alumnus who had once had a crush on Yan Yan. He didn't want to possess Yan Yan. He only wanted to be able to protect her silently. It could be said that the reason why the Sunshine Squad could become the Sunshine Base was because of this zombie. Tanguo was a little curious about this zombie. She didn't know if the other party, who had awakened consciousness, would obey her or continue to be obsessed with Yen Yen. Just as he was thinking about it, the team's car had already arrived outside the warehouse. The densely packed zombies around the warehouse gave people goosebumps. In fact, these zombies were all under the command of the level 5 zombie. Host, the other party is observing you from the rooftop. With the cheating device that was the system, as long as he could scan the area, nothing could be hidden. Tangua's current body's strength could be said to be a cheat. Her eyesight and hearing were very good. She subconsciously glanced at the roof and saw a small black shadow squatting there. She inadvertently looked away, revealing a timid expression. Su Ao, who thought that he had been discovered, stared at the weak woman in the crowd with confusion in his eyes. For some reason, he felt that this woman gave him a lot of pressure. However, he didn't think it was because of this woman. Perhaps it was because of the man beside her. At this moment, he suddenly saw Yen Yen get out of the car. Surprise flashed across his eyes, and he forgot all his doubts and almost rushed down. Chapter 382. The members of the Sunshine Squad were indeed the most powerful squad in Base 7. Yen Yi had awakened metal and lightning powers. The zombies' heads exploded before they could even get close to him. Qin Jiaran, the cold beauty, was also very powerful. She had awakened the power of ice. She froze the zombies and Yen Yi struck them with 2 thunderbolts. The zombies were basically destroyed. Xiao Qing had fire powers and was in charge of cleaning up the lone zombies. With 3 people, the squad was able to clear a path. The others were in charge of dealing with the zombies or humans that could sneak up on them at any time. Yen Yen stood beside Yen Yi. Her steps were light, and she wasn't afraid at all. On the other hand, Tanguo looked cautious and scared. No one found it strange. After all, this was her first time out. Yen Yen already felt that Tanguo wasn't a threat. No one would believe that Tanguo was innocent now. Besides, Yen Yi was with her. But Tanguo was still alive. She was still a hidden danger. I can feel her murderous intent. What should the host do? Of course I have to cooperate with her. I should hate her very much now. I can't wait for her to die. The system swallowed. No, it was just a series of programs. It didn't have any saliva. Sure enough, Yen Yen unconsciously moved closer to Tanguo. On the other side of her, there were zombies that wanted to attack. Tanguo felt a strong force pushing her. Then a hand grabbed her wrist. Then her hand turned into a push and landed on Yen Yen's arm. Yen Yen fell toward the zombies in disbelief. She even shouted, "Tanguo, are you crazy?" Tanguo stood there like a fool. In fact, she was controlling the zombies behind Yen Yen to give them a special order. Beat her. Hit her face. Beat her hard. Yen Yen. Yen Yi's face turned cold. He instinctively ran toward Yen Yen. The zombies that had been observing from the roof also rushed down and ran toward the zombies. Su Ao didn't understand why the zombies here didn't listen to his orders. The zombies grabbed Yen Yen and ran. As they ran, they waved at Yen Yen's face. The sound of slapping rang out, and Yen Yi's veins popped out. He could not help but turn around and glare fiercely at Tanguo, leaving a look that said, "I'll deal with you later." The scene was very strange. More and more zombies surrounded Yen Yen. Yen Yi and Su Ao had to clear the zombies before they could continue. Yen Yen didn't expect that she was just trying to trick them. She didn't expect these zombies to like her so much. Before she could react, she was hugged by the zombies, followed by a series of slaps on her face, which made her dizzy. There were too many zombies. Countless hands grabbed every part of her body, pinching and beating. She had never been humiliated like this in her entire life. She regretted it very much. Why did she use such a stupid trick? Why did you push Nian Nian? Xiao Qing's expression was ugly. She was about to be bitten to death by zombies, and you got what you wanted. I didn't push her. There was no longer fear in Tangua's eyes. Instead, she smiled coldly. But that's not important. No matter who pushed her, she has been taken away by zombies. She may be dead. Chapter 383. Wouldn't it be great if she died? Tangua's lips curled into a faint smile. Her smile was so cold that Xiao Qing couldn't help but feel surprised. Was this still the same timid and pure young miss from before? No, she had never been an innocent person. Yan Yan didn't do anything to let you down. Why are you so vicious? Xiao Qing was shaking with anger. The woman in front of him was unmoved. She murmured, she really didn't do anything to let me down. She's the only one who knows. If she can survive today, it means that the heavens are looking out for her. I can fight anyone, but the heavens are against me. I'm afraid I really can't win. Her eyes dimmed. My persistence these days might really be a joke. I gave up my pride as a young lady and cooked for the team so that Ai could believe in my determination. I thought that I would get results if I persisted, but he never believed me. Instead, he hated me more and more. Ai has been chasing after me since high school. He dotes on me all the time, does everything for me, loves me, and takes care of me. She lowered her eyes. When he had a high fever, I never thought of abandoning him and leaving. I even thought, if he wakes up as a zombie, in this post-apocalyptic world, what's the point of me living alone? Why not let him bite me, and we become zombies together, then we can be a zombie couple. She appeared. She used medicine to exchange for my jade pendant and reminded me that there was a pharmacy not far from the villa. Ai loves me, and I love Ai. Even though I'm timid, as long as I can save Ai, what is this life? The moment I rushed out of the villa, my legs were shaking. I was holding a kitchen knife in my hand. I had never cut meat before, but I actually used a kitchen knife to kill who knows how many zombies along the way. My body was covered in disgusting bodily fluids and brain matter. I was so obsessed with cleanliness and beauty, so I didn't care about that at all. Instead, I was happy that I could successfully reach the pharmacy. Yes, after coming to the pharmacy, I can finally get the medicine and go back to save my lover. But she was still bitten by a zombie and became a very special zombie. She rushed all the way to base 7, only to see her lover with another woman. No matter how she explained, her lover didn't believe her. He thought that she was acting, that she had abandoned him, that she was a flowery talker, and in the end, that she was vicious. She put down her pride and did something she had never done before. With her looks, even in the apocalypse, there were countless strong people willing to take care of her. Not to mention, she was originally a zombie, and her strength was not low. No matter if she was in a human base or working with zombies, she could survive in this world. There was no need for her to do those things. She thought that as long as she explained it clearly, she would be able to get an answer after some time. However, she was wrong. No matter what, you shouldn't have pushed Yan Yan. Xiao Qing said stubbornly. As for Tangua's words, he did not believe them. I misjudged you. I thought you were just a little spoiled. Back then, you abandoned boss because you were too scared. Now, I understand that you were born with a vicious heart. Boss didn't choose you. That's the right decision. Tangwa didn't say anything. She just stood there in a daze, looking at the man running in the distance. Come with me. At some point, a truck drove over beside the team. A cold and handsome man jumped out. He came to Tangwa, and the coldness on his face lessened. Chapter 384. They don't welcome you, don't want to keep you, don't like you, and don't believe you. But I welcome them, I keep them, I like them, I believe them. The man's cold face had some warmth. He looked at her with sincerity in his eyes. Tangwa raised her eyes slightly. Are we familiar with each other? Not now, but we'll get to know each other in the future. I don't think so. She lowered her head and smiled. I don't need you to believe me, nor do I need your protection. You should understand. Shicheng naturally understood that she was powerful. He also knew that Yen Yen had been taken away by those zombies because of her. She had controlled the zombies. If she was really a vicious woman, the zombies would have bitten Yen Yen to death instead of teasing her. Sometimes, he really hoped that she was a vicious woman, so that she wouldn't end up so miserable. If Tangwa knew what Shicheng was thinking, she would laugh at him. She was a vicious woman, more vicious than anyone could imagine. A person's viciousness didn't mean that they were murderous. They're coming back soon. Do you want to come with me? Shicheng asked in a soft voice. Shicheng's subordinates were stunned. They had never seen such a gentle side of their boss before. Tangwa shook her head gently and stroked her messy hair. Thank you, but no. What a stubborn woman. Shicheng really wanted to scold her, but seeing her pale face, he couldn't bear to. Come with me, okay? His tone was actually pleading. He couldn't wait until then. He wanted to take her away from here as soon as possible so that she wouldn't be hurt. He wanted to give her the best protection. He hadn't seen her these days, but he had been paying attention to news about her every day. Tangwa felt Shicheng's anxiety and couldn't help asking, why should I go with you? Are you smitten by my beauty? Whether it was Shicheng's subordinates or the members of the Sunshine Squad, they all had strange expressions. It turned out that this woman was a narcissist. Yes. Shicheng said, then are you willing to go with me? Tangwa smiled, the corners of her eyes slightly raised, with a different kind of elegance. There are many people who have fallen for my beauty. Do I have to go with them just because they want me to? Wake up. Shicheng said, this woman is extraordinarily difficult to deal with. You still haven't given up on Yan Yi. Tangwa was silent. It doesn't matter if I give up or not. It doesn't matter where I go. She was a little unhappy and complained to the system, if it weren't for the last step, I would have really wanted to leave with him. I missed the days when I was always praised for my looks and loved by others. I want to wear a skirt. I don't want to wear ugly sportswear. Host, are you interested in him? Yeah, looks are my cup of tea. His personality is also quite good. There's something about him that especially attracts me. Tangwa chuckled in her heart. It's as if there's someone in every world who attracts me and makes me greedy for their love. How fascinating. You must be a demon. The system was silent for a moment, then asked, Host, have you ever wondered why you're attracted to these people? And why are they the same? For the sake of its host, it still felt that it needed to remind her. Is it important? Tangwa didn't care. No matter what the special reason is, he has attracted my attention. That's a success. Chapter 385. For those who treat me with sincerity, I will give them the same generous rewards. I have always been a very reasonable and fair person. I can distinguish right from wrong, and I am the kind of person who is especially upright. System, is that so? She was very reasonable and fair. Of course, she knew right from wrong. But right from wrong. Host, do you have any morals? Yenny walked back with a disheveled Yen Yen in his arms. He stared at Tangua and sneered when he saw a strange man standing in front of her. Miss Tang, you're really capable. Tangua raised her eyes and looked at him indifferently. Did Yen Yen do anything to you? I warned you long ago that you'd better not cause trouble for Yen Yen. You really don't give up and want to kill Yen Yen. If anything happens to Yen Yen, I won't let you off. Tangua's voice was faint. Can you listen to my explanation? Explanation. Yenny laughed. He was surprised that the other party could still speak like this. Everyone saw it. Nyen Nyen shouted subconsciously in the end. All of this shows that you pushed Nyen Nyen. You've always disliked Nyen Nyen and thought that she stole me. Miss Tang, don't you understand that you were the one who gave up on our relationship? I didn't want to say such harsh words in the past, but now I have to. If I, Yen Yi, hadn't awakened my special ability and was an ordinary person, you probably wouldn't have looked back at me. You're full of clinginess and the way you're so eager to get close to me makes me sick. The woman's face was very pale, and her slender body seemed like it could be blown away by the wind at any time. She looked at Yen Yi with her clear eyes. So Yi thinks I'm such a person. No wonder it's useless no matter how I explain. Yi doesn't like me pestering you. I won't pester you anymore. Yi doesn't like me disturbing Miss Yen. I won't disturb her anymore. Yi definitely doesn't want me to stay in the Sunshine Squad. I won't be a member of the Sunshine Squad from now on. I'm sorry for the trouble I caused Yi. Yen Yi was furious. Why are you saying it so emotionally? You're the one who did something wrong, and you're willing to let me go just because you're not a Sunshine Squad member. I'll say it again. I didn't abandon you or push Miss Yen. Even though I really want her to die in the mouth of zombies. Tangguo looked at Yen Yen, who was in a sorry state. But she seems to be favored by the heavens. She survived even like this. I admit defeat. Yenny glanced at Shiqing and sneered coldly, have you found a new backer and decided to give up on me? I don't know him. Tangguo looked at Shiqing and said, thank you for your kindness. You can leave. I won't go with you. Shiqing sighed and said with a serious expression, if you want to come to me, you're always welcome. Yen Yen also woke up. The experience just now had really frightened her. She had never been so close to a zombie and had even been touched by a zombie. She really didn't want to experience this kind of humiliation again. She buried her head in Yen Yi's arms and didn't say a word. Yen Yi's heart ached as he put her in the car. He turned to leave but was caught by her. Yi, where are you going? Nyen Nyen, I'm going to help you vent your anger. It doesn't make sense that she can stand there calmly after you suffered. Chapter 386. Yen Nyen's eyes flickered. Yi, don't go overboard. Maybe she just hasn't figured it out yet. Can she kill you just because she hasn't figured it out? Yen Yi pushed Yen Nyen away and walked towards Tangua. His aggressive manner frightened the members of the team. He grabbed Tangua and Qinjia and hurriedly said, Boss, what are you doing? What am I doing? Let her experience what it's like to be surrounded by zombies. It doesn't make sense for her to just admit her mistake after what she did to Nyen Nyen. Boss, she'll die like this. Xiao Qing hurriedly stopped him. We can't push her into the zombie crowd no matter what. Yen Yi sneered and still didn't change his mind. He glanced at the calm woman and said, if Nyen Nyen had died in the zombie crowd just now, would you still say that? Nyen Nyen was lucky to not be bitten by the zombies. If she was lucky enough to survive, she could continue to be in the Sunshine Squad. Qin Jiaran still said, "Boss, Miss Tang isn't that kind of person. I hope you can ask clearly, lest you do something you'll regret in the future." She didn't pay attention to what happened just now, but she had a feeling that Tang Guo wasn't that kind of person. This was her intuition. What she didn't say was that she couldn't see through this woman. Sometimes when she went downstairs, she would occasionally see that woman sitting on the sofa with the corners of her mouth curved as if she was smiling. At that time, Tang Guo was very different from what everyone thought. If she really wanted to harm Yan Yan, why didn't she do something to the food? Why did she have to push her into the zombie crowd so blatantly? Wasn't it obvious that she wanted everyone to see her do bad things? She felt that Tang Guo wasn't that stupid. I know what kind of person she is better than you. I know that Jiaran has always been prejudiced against Nian Nian, but this time, everyone saw that she pushed Nian Nian herself. He wouldn't let her go. Yanni grabbed Tang Guo's wrist and took her to the zombie crowd. When they were not far from the zombies, Yanni pushed her without hesitation. Her whole body fell into the zombie crowd's range. She only looked back at Yanni. Her eyes were filled with despair. Her originally bright eyes had completely lost their luster and became gray. Those who saw that gaze felt their hearts stagnate, and an unconcealable bitterness surged from the bottom of their hearts. Yanni paused for a moment before turning his head. She deserved it. She shouldn't have pushed Nian Nian. She was a vicious woman. Xiao Qing closed his eyes. He still couldn't bear it. Qin Jiaran's cold eyes flashed as she stared at the zombie crowd. She couldn't help praying, hoping that woman could survive. Half an hour later, they couldn't see the scene inside. They only knew that zombies were surrounding and celebrating. Xiao Qing felt a little uncomfortable. Nian Nian was being eaten by the zombies. For the first time, Qin Jiaran felt a little sad. She wouldn't be able to eat the rice paste she made in the future. Thinking of that woman's occasional warm smile, she felt that it was a pity. In the car, Yan Nian also heard the noise outside. Knowing that Tang Guo had been pushed into the zombie crowd, she breathed a sigh of relief. The things she was afraid of and the secrets she had hidden would never be exposed again. "Boss, it's been half an hour." Xiao Qing couldn't help reminding him. "Let's go take a look and kill these zombies." Xiao Qing didn't know if her body was still there. Yan Yi was stunned. Half an hour had passed. He quickly looked in the direction of the zombie crowd. There were no screams or cries. He clenched his fists. "She asked for it. Let's go take a look." Chapter 387. The members of the Sunshine Squad killed the zombies crazily. Their speed was much faster than before. They didn't know why they were so anxious. In fact, many people, including Xiao Qing, regretted not stopping them just now. If they allow their boss to do this, what's the difference between them and Tang Guo's previous behavior? In fact, except for that point just now, she was really good to ordinary people. When cooking, she would carefully ask them about their tastes. Occasionally, when they didn't come back, she would let them eat. Except for annoying the boss, she never caused any trouble for them. On the contrary, because of her existence, their lives were much better. They didn't have to cook every day. They just ate some dry food and some canned food. Every day, they could eat hot food and occasionally enjoy the tea and snacks she made. Other than being inferior in other areas, she was really unparalleled when it came to cooking. Now that she thought about it carefully, she had never let down anyone in their team except for Yan Yan and Yan Yi. They could only watch helplessly as she died. Their hearts were filled with guilt and sadness. The more Xiao Qing thought about it, the more guilty she felt. In fact, she wasn't that bad. Maybe she just didn't understand why she had to die. Host, there are a few people outside secretly wiping tears. They killed zombies so hard that they almost died in one hit. Host, they seem to be regretting it. It's as I expected. I didn't do anything to let them down. On the contrary, I took good care of them. Tangua squatted on the ground, holding her chin in a daze. I don't have to work so hard anymore. I'll do whatever I want. Cooking depends on my mood. I want to act as a woman whose heart is already dead. The system was speechless. Recently, the host had fallen in love with acting. Didn't she act enough in the last world? In the future, I'll only make food for people who are pleasing to the eye. Yen Yi and Yen Yen, forget about them. Go eat their dry food. System, as long as you're happy. When the Sunshine Squad used all their strength to kill their way in, they were stunned by the scene in front of them. After being stunned for a while, they couldn't help but feel relieved. She was actually still alive and well. They looked at the zombies around her. It was as if they didn't see her. They didn't attack her at all. This was very surprising. Could it be that she had awakened an ability? Tangua. Xiaoqing quickly rushed over and squatted beside her to look at her. The first thing he saw was the woman's gray eyes. He felt suffocated and his eyes turned sour. I'm sorry. I should have stopped, boss. Actually, you're very good to many of us. The woman only glanced at him and lowered her head again, not saying a word. Seeing such a lifeless person, Xiaoqing was filled with regret. I'm really sorry. This won't happen again in the future. Yen Yi only glanced at her, then turned and left. He couldn't tell what it was like to see her still alive. His heart actually relaxed a little, and the killing intent from before dissipated by a lot. But when he came back and saw Yen Yen in such a sorry state, he quickly abandoned that bit of sympathy. That woman was really lucky. The zombies didn't bully her. Qin Jiaran came over and helped Tangguo up. She whispered in her ear, "It's time for you to live for yourself." I know. Everyone was surprised to receive an unexpected response from the woman. Then, they realized that the mist in her eyes had dispersed, and they had become indifferent and lifeless. Chapter 388. I was too stubborn and caused inconvenience to many people. I've already awakened my superpower, so you have to figure out your own food from now on. If you treat me well, I can help you with some food. As for Yen Yi and Yen Yen, I can't prepare food for them. She gently pushed Qin Jiaran's hand away and smiled at her. I'll take care of your food. I think you're quite pleasing to the eye. With that, she got into the car. Xiaoqing was a little dumbfounded, and the other members also looked at each other. This revenge came unexpectedly, and they didn't have time to react at all. My superpower is that I'm not afraid of zombies. They won't attack me, and I can go to any dangerous places. I can help the team avoid a lot of trouble, so my superpower should be very strong. Tangua sat in her seat and said word by word. She looked up. You don't have any objections, right? No. Xiaoqing, who was arranging the daily chores, reacted and said. Such a superpower was indeed very strong. It didn't take much effort to get the things they wanted. Their team was really strong to have such a person. Then let's go get the supplies. Tangua didn't give them time to react. She got out of the car and called Qin Jiaran. You drive. We'll go in and get the supplies. Qin Jiaran nodded and drove behind Tangua. Sure enough, she found that wherever Tangua was, zombies wouldn't attack. Soon, the whole car was filled with supplies. Xiaoqing had to call Yen Yen over and let her put the supplies into the space. Yen Yen was actually very scared. Tanghua, who didn't have the space jade pendant, had awakened such a heaven-defying superpower. It was really terrifying. If zombies didn't attack Tanghua, wouldn't she be invincible? The zombies just won't attack me. I can't control them. It doesn't matter if others know about this superpower. Hearing this, Yan Yan was relieved. Fortunately, it wasn't considered heaven-defying. It was just that she couldn't be attacked by zombies. She had only been teased by zombies before and hadn't been bitten. Did that also count as an ability that couldn't be attacked? She wasn't sure and didn't dare to try. When the Sunshine Squad returned to the base, Tanghua went to report her ability, which indeed surprised the people in the base. Later, when he found out that her fighting ability was not strong, but she was not attacked by zombies, he was not so curious. At best, she had the ability to protect herself, not to control zombies, so there was no need to be afraid. But after that, Tanghua's status rose. First, she had her own room in the villa. She didn't need to cook anymore. Every time she went out on a mission, she would go with him. Wherever there were zombies and items needed to be retrieved, she would go. Anyway, she was the one doing the most dangerous work. The team members really wanted to eat the food she cooked, but they didn't dare to say anything. They could only silently eat the dry food with tears in their eyes. Sometimes, there were even other teams that wanted to invite her to go on a mission together, and she would be given a lot of resources. Because of the awakening of her special ability, it brought a lot of benefits to the team. Later, there was a conflict between the higher-ups of the base, and the ability users also wanted to proclaim themselves as kings, causing chaos for a while. Many people came to rope in the Sunshine Squad, so Yenny took over Base 7 at lightning speed and renamed it Sunshine Base. He was indeed a very talented person. Soon, he took care of the base in an orderly manner, and the people in the base had better lives. Many ordinary people and ability users from other places were leaning towards Sunshine Base. Chapter 389. At the same time, similar situations were happening all over the country. Later, a few biological researchers came to the base and said that they needed a safe place to study the zombie virus. Yan-Yi strongly supported them and gave them very good treatment. Yan-Yi already knew that Yan-Yan had a magical space. The two of them had a tacit understanding. In order to restore peace on the ground as soon as possible, he asked Yan-Yan to take out the spring water in the space for the researchers to study. Before long, the treasure in Yan-Yan's hands was very special and could suppress the zombie virus. It spread to all the bases. But the Sunshine Base developed quickly and everyone was very united. They were powerful and didn't dare to do anything. Ever since that time, Tanghua didn't try to explain anything to Yan-Yi. It was as if she had become a zombie who only knew how to collect supplies. No expression could be seen on her face. In the past, he could occasionally see her smile and sad look. But in a word, she was even colder than Qin Jiaran. Don't go out for a while. Many bases know that Yan-Yan has a secret. There are many strangers outside the base, Qin Jiaran said. She stared at the woman who was leaning against the sofa and pretending to be asleep. She didn't understand what kind of person she was. Others might think that Tanghua had become a tool, but she knew that wasn't the case. As long as one was careful, they would be able to see the teasing in this woman's eyes occasionally, as if she was playing an interesting game. After a long time, Qin Jiaran finally confirmed that this woman wasn't immersed in love and couldn't walk out. She seemed to be acting for something. If that was the case, she felt sorry for her. Is that so? Tanghua looked up and smiled. It's that jade pendant, right? You knew. Qin Jiaran actually wanted to ask if she had known. Tanghua chuckled. It's mine. How could I not know? She's really favored by the heavens. Qin Jiaran frowned. She hadn't heard Tangguo talk about this in a long time. This time, she had a feeling that Tangguo might be telling the truth. Perhaps the jade pendant was hers. If it was hers, then wasn't Yan Yan lying? What do you think of zombies and humans coexisting? What? Qin Jiaran was slightly stunned. What do you mean by zombies and humans coexisting? How is that possible? Tangguo smiled. If one day zombies don't bite people, but occupy a piece of land and develop a paradise, they will evolve to be the same as ordinary people, except that they are a little stronger. Do you think zombies and humans will coexist? Maybe humans have to seek protection from zombies. Qin Jiaran couldn't help but laugh. You're indulging in fantasy. That's impossible. Tangguo smiled but didn't say anything. She decided to wait a little longer. When she left this place, the zombie empire would be exposed to the world. Would they panic then? Was he shocked? He wanted to know. Host, Shi Chang has ordered someone to call you. In order to make Yan Yi hand you over, he deliberately didn't appear. He was afraid that Yan Yi would think that he knew Yan Yan and wouldn't dare to exchange you. Tangguo raised her eyebrows. That's fast. It's a few years too early. I have to give him an assist so that he can successfully snatch me back. The system was speechless. See, sometimes the host had no moral integrity. Although he said no, he was actually very honest. Hey, where are you going? Qin Jiaran shouted. Tangguo turned back and smiled. She cracked her fingers. I'm going to do something I really want to do. Chapter 390. Boss, something bad happened. Tangguo broke into Nian Yan's office and they're fighting. Xiao Qing hurriedly ran to Yan Yi's side. Yan Yi was frowning because of the attack on the Sunset base. He couldn't care less and hurriedly left with Xiao Qing. The door of the office was closed. Hearing the sound inside, Yan Yi directly struck the door with lightning. When he went in, he saw that Yan Yan was being held by the collar by Tangguo and beaten black and blue. Xiao Qing was stunned. It had been so many years. Was Tangguo still holding a grudge and only exploded today? Give me back the jade pendant. Tangguo said as she pinched the jade pendant around Yan Yan's neck. But she couldn't take it away. It was Yan Yan's. You already have Yan Yi, so give me back my family heirloom. Yan Yan pursed her lips. When she saw Yan Yi enter, her tears fell. Tangguo was too heaven-defying. First, she awakened the ability to not be afraid of zombies. Later, someone had designs on her and awakened the strength ability. She was no match for them at all. She couldn't return Yan Yi. It was even more impossible to return the jade pendant. It was all hers. Let go of Nian Yan, Miss Tang. I thought you'd figured it out after all these years, but I didn't expect you to still be the same. I'm really disappointed. Tangguo let go of the jade pendant and stared at Yan Yi. I just want to take back my things. I can't take back the person, but I want to take back a dead object like the jade pendant. It seems that a jade pendant has betrayed me. Tangguo looked at the pitiful Yan Yan and raised her hand to slap her face. The sound of the slap stunned the members of the Sunshine team who came in. Why was this woman so violent? Okay, if you can't take it back, it's not too much for me to slap you twice, right? She walked in front of the furious Yan Yi and raised her hand to give him 2 slaps. Yan Yi's eyes widened. He didn't expect that Tangguo would give him 2 slaps before he even made a move. The conflict was on the verge of erupting, and the two of them immediately started fighting. In the end, of course, it was Tangguo who beat Yan Yi up. She especially hit his face. She was so powerful that everyone was stunned. Yan Yi was completely disgraced. In less than 2 days, the troops from the Sunset Base finally surrounded the Sunshine Base. The people from the Sunshine Base wanted to fight them, but they didn't expect their weapons to be so terrifying. They even had nuclear weapons. Although they only used them to threaten them, they succeeded. Espers were powerful, but there were only a few who could avoid nuclear weapons. The entire base was built by all kinds of people. This battle could not be fought. Our boss said that as long as you hand over Yan Yan, we will retreat. We will give you half a day to consider. If you don't hand over Yan Yan after half a day, we will bomb the Sunshine Base. Think about it carefully. Yan Yi was in a fit of anger. It was impossible for him to hand over Yan Yan. However, if the entire base was destroyed because of this, he would be a sinner. Ah, Yi, why don't you hand me over? They probably won't do anything to me. Yan Yan said pitifully. After taking the initiative to ask, Yan Yi definitely wouldn't hand her over. Even if Yan Yi agreed, the professors in the base wouldn't. Sure enough, after a while, the researchers barged in. Anyway, they were not allowed to hand over Yan Yan. Don't we have another special woman in our base? Why don't we let her replace Yan Yan? Those people have never seen Yan Yan. That woman wasn't bitten by zombies. They should be very interested in this situation, an old professor said. The others all agreed, expressing that it was feasible. Chapter 391. Yan Yi was conflicted. Should he hand that woman over? Boss Yan, you'd better think about it carefully. Yan Yan can't be handed over. This is for the sake of the entire human race. The items on her are very precious. If we hand her over, how can we develop a drug to suppress or even eradicate the zombie virus if she's in danger? She's very powerful. I'm afraid she won't be willing. Yan Yi had already agreed with this approach. He had been tolerating that woman, and he had hit Nian Nian 2 days ago. He didn't know when he would want to kill Nian Nian again. She couldn't blame him. She could only blame herself for being too insensible and vicious. The old professor smiled. We've developed so many drugs. Can't we just give her an injection and make her superpower disappear temporarily? Didn't you say she's very powerful? When her superpower recovers, it'll be easy for her to escape. Yan Yan said, isn't that too cruel? Nian Nian, you're too kind. Yan Yi touched Yan Yan's face and finally made up his mind. Okay, let her go out on Nian Nian's behalf, but this matter needs to be done in secret. We can't let those people know. Xiao Qing and Qin Jiaran had a very good relationship with that woman. If she knew what he was doing, she would definitely stop him. In the afternoon, Tang Guo was lying on the sofa taking a nap. She felt a pain in her arm and quickly opened her eyes to meet Yan Yi's gaze. What are you doing? Yan Yi threw the syringe into the trash can without saying a word. You brought this upon yourself. If you hadn't treated Nian Nian like that, I wouldn't have had this idea. My superpower is gone. Actually, this thing was useless to Tang Guo, but she still pretended to be very weak and looked at Yan Yi with a sneer. What do you want to do? The Sunset Base wants Nian Nian. I can't hand her over. You're also very special. You've done so many things to let Nian Nian down. This time, take it as atonement for her. If you can survive, we'll be even in the future. When you're willing to return to the base, there'll still be a place here. Tang Guo shook her head and said calmly, Yi, did you really never intend to believe me and think that everything Yan Yan said was true? Yan Yi was stunned. He also wanted to believe her, but that was all in the past. Yi, I thought you knew me very well. Just a misunderstanding is enough to make you not trust me at all. The woman's eyes dimmed. I shouldn't have loved you anymore. I fell in love with the wrong person. You stopped trusting me a long time ago. I don't know why I'm staying here. She stumbled out of bed, put on her jacket, and walked out. She turned around and said, "Ah, you've lost someone who loved you very much. Someone who loved you so much that she didn't even care about her own life. She used to be a noble lady who learned how to blow off zombies' heads because of you. A person like her will disappear from today onwards." She said to the people outside, "Take me away. Hand me over and your sunshine base will be at peace for a while." For a while. System, the host is angry. After receiving Tangwa, the people from the Sunset Base only hurriedly sized her up. They didn't confirm anything before retreating with their people. This made the people from the Sunshine Base who escorted Tangwa out feel strange. But no matter what, the base was saved. Actually, the person who came to receive Tangwa was Shi Cheng's loyal subordinate. Seeing that it was Tangwa, he really heaved a sigh of relief. If Yan Yi really handed Yan Yan over, he wouldn't be able to explain himself. He really didn't understand why his boss had to take so many detours to chase a woman. Chapter 392. Boss. Why did you hand over Tangwa? Xiao Qing's eyes widened. Do you know what it means to hand her over? She'll die. She'll be dissected for research. Yan Yi, you've gone overboard. Qin Jiaren's cold eyes were filled with anger. I misjudged you. The former members of the Sunshine Squad felt a chill in their hearts. They had been sent out for a mission today because Yan Yi had sent them away. He was afraid that they would stop him from handing over Tangwa. Qin Jiaren took off her badge and threw it at Yan Yi's face. From today onwards, I'm no longer a member of the Sunshine Base. Where are you going? Yan Yi couldn't help asking. Qin Jiaren sneered. I'm going to find Tangwa. I won't watch her die. Xiao Qing was a bit absent-minded. He was in a mess. He wasn't as decisive as Qin Jiaren. Actually, he had targeted Tangwa partly because of Yan Yan. He had always had a crush on Yan Yan, but Yan Yan didn't like him. She liked Yan Yi. He had chosen to silently bless and protect her. Now, he was suddenly a bit confused. He had never thought that boss would hand Tangwa over to the Sunset Base for Yan Yan. There were many biomedical researchers in that base. In the apocalypse, where there were no human rights, they might be dissected. Boss, go get Tangwa back. Can you do it? She'll die. I've already handed her over. They won't return her, Yan Yi said coldly. It wasn't worth it to start a war for Tangwa. Xiao Qing suddenly laughed and staggered out. He casually took off the badge on his shoulder and threw it on the ground. A crisp sound rang out, causing people's hearts to sink to the bottom of the valley. He was really disappointed. Had Tangwa really done many wrong things? No, she hadn't. The only thing she had done wrong was with Yan Yan. The Sunshine Squad's rapid development was inseparable from the fact that the base was so strong. Boss didn't consider anything and handed her over for Yan Yan. He was too heartless. Qin Jiaren was right. He was too ashamed to stay in a base like this. He had to save Tangwa, even if it meant risking his life. Miss Tang, are you hungry? Do you want to eat something first? The car is driving a little fast. Is it bumpy? You should have been injected with a drug that makes your special ability disappear temporarily. It won't take long for you to recover, so don't worry too much. Yuan Ping smiled fawningly. Fortunately, I saw you before. Boss said that if I see you, no matter what the conditions are, as long as you are willing, I will bring you back. In fact, his boss had asked him to pick up Miss Tang, but he couldn't say it out loud. I'm not hungry. I don't want to eat. Tang Guo's face was calm. She didn't look sad at all, which made Yuan Ping feel very strange. Is your boss Shi Qing? Yes, yes. Shi Qing. Oh. Tang Guo chuckled. Why didn't he come? Well. Yuan Ping scratched his head. Boss is very busy. Wasn't he afraid of being exposed and causing unnecessary trouble? Tang Guo smiled and raised her eyebrows. Your boss likes me, doesn't he? Yes. Yuan Ping didn't deny it. Boss likes you a lot and even prepared a room for you. He accidentally said too much. Tang Guo was in a good mood. I'm a very picky person. I used to be a rich young lady. I won't stay in a room I'm not satisfied with. Yuan Ping was dumbfounded. What did that mean? Did you prepare a dress for me? Tang Guo pointed at her simple sportswear. Actually, I prefer beautiful dresses. The more gorgeous, the better. They look especially noble. Chapter 393. When they arrived at the sunset base, Yuan Ping got out of the car and felt a little dizzy. Didn't boss say that Miss Tang might not be willing? Why did he feel that Miss Tang was very willing and all her questions were on point? She was a person who knew how to enjoy life. Shi Cheng was already waiting at the door. Seeing the woman jump out of the car, he controlled his excitement and quickly walked to her. Can you stay this time? Tang Guo looked at him with a smile. Do you like me? Yes. He stood ramrod straight, as if he was waiting for her inspection. This made Tang Guo's previous depressed mood swept away, and her whole body became warm. How much do you like it? A lot. Oh. As if he was afraid that Tang Guo would not believe him, Shi Qing quickly said, you can make the decisions in the base in the future. Yuan Ping wiped his cold sweat. Boss, do you have to do this? Is this how you chase a woman? Host, a loyal dog, you have potential. You can wait to be spoiled to the heavens without any pressure. The system said excitedly. It really liked loyal dogs the most. Okay, since you are so sincere, I won't stand on ceremony. What? Yuan Ping was a little dumbfounded. This woman really wanted it. I'll leave the base to you from now on. Yuan Ping, this woman. Shi Qing smiled and hesitated for a moment before holding her hand. Feeling that she did not struggle, he was secretly happy and his eyes were very serious. Then are you willing to give me a chance? I've already accepted the dowry. What do you think? Shi Qing was surprised. He thought that he would see a desperate woman, but he did not expect to see such a surprise. He hesitated for a moment. What about Yan Yi? This person she had always loved deeply. I forgot. Tang Guo said straightforwardly. From the moment I walked out of the Sunshine Base, Yan Yi will no longer exist in my life. How is it? Are you satisfied? Satisfied, very satisfied. He did not ask for so much. He did not know when he fell in love with her, but as long as she was willing to stay by his side, he was willing to fight for a peaceful world in this chaotic world, just for her. It turned out that he was reborn for her. Shi Qing felt satisfied. I'll like you in the future, okay? No man could resist the sweet nothings of a beautiful woman. Even Shi Qing, who had a good character, felt his heart race when he saw her serious and beautiful eyes. I like you more than Yan Yi, Tang Guo added, okay? Of course, Yan Yi was at a loss. He didn't know how to answer. Tang Guo couldn't help but stand on tiptoe and pat his head. You're so cute. You're so likable. Yuan Ping, boss has become a puppy. Looking at the silly smile on his face, he seemed to be quite happy. I heard from Yuan Ping that you prepared a room for me, right? A blush appeared on Shi Chang's handsome face. He held her hand and refused to let go. He led her into the base with relaxed steps. Yes. It's specially prepared for you. Let me show you. Sure. Shi Chang was satisfied. He didn't expect such a pleasant surprise at all. He really didn't know this woman well, whether it was in his previous life or this life. But it didn't matter anymore. She had entered the base, so she was his woman. He had enough time to get to know her. What he wanted to do was to control a peaceful world for her. He wanted to love her, protect her, and like her. Yes, this was the meaning of his life. He didn't know why he was so excited. Chapter 394. Big Boss, is this really Miss Tang? Yuan Ping was still doubting his life. I've heard of Miss Tang's name. It's said that she's very strong in the Sunshine base. She doesn't even need to hit twice. She even beat up Yan Yi in the base before. Yuan Ping swallowed his saliva. So the woman who asked them for a lot of beautiful dresses, shoes, makeup, and jewelry was really the same Tang Gua who beat people up for no reason. Shi Chang glanced at Yuan Ping coldly. Do you have a problem with that? No, no problem. It's just that, Yuan Ping complained. She's different from the rumors. Shi Chang changed his posture and leaned against the sofa. He said happily, she's a rich young lady. She should be cherished and protected. It's just that someone doesn't cherish her. Fortunately, that person didn't cherish her. Otherwise, he wouldn't have a chance. From today onwards, she'll be in charge of beauty. Yuan Ping was at a loss. Was his boss swapped out or possessed? Was this guy without principles really the decisive and ruthless Shi Chang who didn't even care about women? Half an hour later, the door to Tang Gua's room opened. Yuan Ping and Shi Chang looked over at the same time and were stunned. She was beautiful, but surviving in the apocalypse, even a woman would choose to dress simply. She had just changed into a dress, put on a pair of beautiful high heels and put on some light makeup, but she looked completely different. It was as if this wasn't the apocalypse, but a socialite who was about to attend a dinner party. Shi Chang quickly came back to his senses. He got up and walked over to her, saying, "You're so pretty." He couldn't even bear to look away. Yuan Ping couldn't bear to look at her. Where was his big boss's image? Where was his dignity? I'll ask them to pick out the best clothes for you from the supplies we collect. Shi Chang thought for a while and added, make a list of what you want. I'll ask the people underground to prepare it. Tang Gua grabbed Shi Chang's hand and led him into the room. Yuan Ping stood impatiently at the door and finally left silently. His boss had silently fed him a wave of dog food. Shi Chang was a little nervous. Although this room was decorated by him personally, it was the first time that the two of them were in the same room. Of course, his expression did not change, as if he was used to it. You should know who I am, right? Shi Chang was stunned for a moment and nodded. I know. She was a zombie. This was what she had said in her previous life. Tang Gua raised her eyebrows slightly. Then do you still like me? I don't like you because of who you are. Tang Gua was amused. Oh, you're quite good with words. No wonder you're so likable. Was he good with words? Shi Chang was a little suspicious. He couldn't help but want to say nice things to her in front of her. Seeing that she was happy made him feel happy. This beautiful zombie was poisonous. He had been poisoned by her and had become a completely different person. I have a plan. Tang Gui took out a proposal from the drawer and glanced at Shi Qing. Take a look. If there are no problems, I'll leave this matter to you, okay? Good, good, good. Of course, he could do anything for him. Host, do you see the little tail? The system clicked its tongue and shook it happily. Tang Gui smiled but didn't say anything. She stared at Shi Qing as he read the proposal. Seeing all kinds of surprise flash across his face, she crossed her arms and waited for his response. Chapter 395. She had written the proposal a long time ago. There were more than 20 pages in total. With Shi Qing's eyesight, he could finish reading it in a few minutes. However, it took him a full hour to put the proposal down. He looked at the woman in front of him in shock. Sure enough, he didn't know her well enough. A woman who could write such a proposal was really a gem. He even picked it up. You can make zombies not bite people? Of course. Shi Qing's eyes lit up. They can eventually evolve into a form like yours, which means they can regain the appearance and consciousness of a normal person. They can even remember their former identity. Yes. Shi Qing's heart pounded. He then said, why don't we just take over the world? This woman deserved to stand at the top. He wanted everyone in the world to call her Her Majesty. He wanted to be her most loyal knight who would follow and protect her forever. Tang Gui smiled faintly. No, it's too troublesome. I don't have the energy to save the world. Let the righteous do it. If I steal their jobs, there's no point in them living. Shi Qing couldn't help but laugh. He couldn't see any ambition in her eyes. Then, why did she want zombies to take over a part of the world? There's no reason. I just want to do it. We're all humans. Why can't zombies take over a part of the world? I'm a zombie too. I can't work with humans to exterminate the zombies, right? Of course, what I hope even more is for those weak humans to see the incomparably powerful zombies living in a paradise, living a stable life every day. Meanwhile, they have to think hard about how to survive the attacks of all kinds of mutated animals and plants. Tang Gui raised her head slightly and stared at Shi Qing. I want to see how they look when they come to the zombies for help. It must be interesting, right? Shi Qing was stunned. Was this a bad taste? Zombies have never been the most dangerous creatures in the apocalypse. You know that, right? Shi Qing was stunned again. She knew that too. Yes. In his previous life, the zombies were the first to be eliminated. However, the humans who lived here still had to worry about how to survive every day. All the animals and plants in the world had mutated, and some powerful monsters had even been born. Even Espers had no way to eliminate them. At least, before he died, these mutant creatures were not extinct. They were only driven to some desolate places, and occasionally, they would still harm people. So I want to build a zombie empire. It will be the only paradise on this planet. Okay, Shi Qing said. I'll help you. Your Majesty the Queen. He couldn't help but hold her hand and kiss the back of her hand, looking serious and sincere. Tang Gui stared at the familiar action and was a little stunned. She couldn't help but say to the system, he's really like a human. The system was a little speechless. It was as if Shi Qing wasn't human. Of course, he understood the host's words. There was once a person who liked to kiss the back of her hand the most, and he looked so serious and sincere. Tang Gui took out a map, glanced at Shi Qing and asked, "Can I trust you?" "Of course." "Then I'll leave this great task to you. The list here is all evolved zombies. Among them, Wu Chu has completely recovered her human form. The other zombies haven't evolved to that extent yet. They're all under your care." Shi Qing didn't expect her to trust him so much. This woman was full of secrets. System: the host is really good at being a hands-off boss. Chapter 396. Boss, there are a few people outside. They want us to hand over sister-in-law. Shi Cheng was combing the hair of the woman in front of him. He glanced at the woman who seemed to have fallen asleep in his arms. His face turned cold and his voice was low. Who are they? Qin Jiaran and Xiao Qing were former members of the Sunshine team. Yuan Ping looked at his boss who was holding a wooden comb and his lips twitched. They seemed to be here to save sister-in-law. What he didn't say was that ever since sister-in-law came to the Sunset Base, many people in the Sunshine Base knew that she was handed over to them as Yan Yan. He didn't expect sister-in-law to have such a high status in the Sunshine Base. He also didn't expect that there would be people who would come to the Sunset Base just for her. It was a place of no return. They're good people. We can use them. Tang Guo opened her eyes and said with a smile. Cheng, I brought you a few good men. Let them in. Yuan Ping hurriedly left. He didn't ask for Shi Cheng's opinion. It was useless. Boss already said that this woman's words were an imperial edict. Before long, Xiao Qing and the others were brought in. They thought that they would see a tragic scene. They might not even be able to walk out of the Sunset Base. They didn't expect that. The person they wanted to save was wearing a luxurious dress. Her hair was tied up and she wore beautiful gemstone earrings, necklaces and bracelets. At present, she was leaning in the arms of a cold handsome man, and this man was helping her peel an orange. Xiao Qing thought, did he come to the wrong place? Qin Jiaran's lips twitched. Did he come to the wrong place? Or was he dreaming? The others were confused. Tang Guo ate a piece of orange and looked up. Why are you here? We're here to save you so that you won't be cut into pieces. Xiao Qing opened his mouth but didn't say anything. This woman was living so comfortably here. Even if he didn't understand, he was a bit suspicious. He looked at Shi Cheng carefully and suddenly remembered that this was the man who wanted to take Tang Guo away a few years ago. Xiao Qing's expression was complicated. What was going on? If he had known that she was here to enjoy life, he wouldn't have been so worried. Looks like you're doing pretty well. Qin Jiaran glanced at Shi Cheng and then at the various things in the room. She could tell that they were all meticulously prepared. She suddenly realized something. Could it be that Tang Guo had predicted this day would come? So, her guess was right. Tang Guo stayed in Sunshine Base to put on a show with a purpose. This scene was too realistic. What was the purpose? I heard you guys left Sunshine Base. Tang Guo asked. Xiao Qing's face darkened. Yan Yi sent us away. Otherwise, we wouldn't have allowed him to do that. I know. I don't blame you. After all, you often freeload off my food. I didn't do anything wrong to you. If you really don't stop me, then you're ingrates. Xiao Qing, why did he feel that this woman had changed so much? If she used to be taciturn, she seemed to have let go of herself now. He glanced at Shi Cheng. Had he been spoiled by this guy all this while? We're short of people here. Do you want to stay? Tang Guo asked with a serious look in her eyes. Stay. You won't regret it. Xiao Qing and the others looked at each other. Qin Jiaran was straightforward. Okay, I'll stay. Okay. Yuan Ping, arrange a good room for Jiaran. Chapter 397. In the end, Xiao Qing and the others chose to stay. They couldn't accept Yan Yi handing over Tang Guo. When they saw how powerful the Sunset Base was, they were shocked. Perhaps it was the right choice for them to stay. They thought that Shurching just liked Tanguo a lot and doted on her like a princess. Later, they realized that he wasn't doting on the little princess. He was flattering the queen. Similarly, they realized that Tanguo was surprisingly gentle to Shurching. She didn't have to do anything, but every time it was mealtime, she would always meticulously prepare a set meal for Shurching. In the afternoon, there would be all kinds of refreshments. When Shurching was working in the office, she would sit on the sofa and read a book. Many times, they would see this scene when they went in. They used to think that before Tanguo gave up on Yan Yi, she was already good enough to him. After seeing how Tanguo treated Shurching, they could see the difference. Now that they thought about it carefully, she seemed to be very perfunctory towards Yan Yi. One day, Shurching called all of them to his office. Tanguo was there too. This time, she was the one who spoke. You need to move to another place. This concerns our future. Xiaoqing and the others were a little curious. Could it be that there was an important mission? Tanguo didn't say much. She held Shurchang's arm and gestured for them to follow. Everyone got into a car. After driving for about 3 hours, they arrived at a remote place filled with zombies. After getting out of the car, Xiaoqing and the others felt their legs go weak. Although they were very strong, there were hordes of zombies in this place. Was this a joke? Soon, they realized that something was wrong. The zombies in this place were strange. Why was there a big castle in front? They couldn't help but take a closer look. They realized that this was a castle complex. There were also newly built buildings around it. Not far away, they also saw green vegetables and fruits hanging on the trees. They widened their eyes. Why did these zombies look like normal people? Qin Jiaren's heart skipped a beat. She couldn't help but remember the question that Tanguo once asked her. Could zombies coexist with humans? At that time, she thought it was impossible. Now, she was only shocked. If zombies really had consciousness and could control themselves not to bite people, then it was really possible. Everyone's heart was pounding, and endless possibilities filled their minds. Are you surprised? Of course, he was very surprised. Shurchang's expression was rather calm. This was not his first time here. In fact, when he first came here, he was also very shocked. He originally thought that according to the plan, he would need many years to complete it. Unexpectedly, she had been carrying out this plan for a long time. All the items here were extremely precious in the post-apocalyptic world. Especially those fruits and vegetables that grew normally. You will be working here from now on. Tanguo said in a flat tone, to build our zombie empire together, as if she was building a small house with blocks. Zombie empire. Xiaoqing didn't understand. Why was it a zombie empire? Tanguo seemed to know his doubts and answered, I forgot to tell you that I'm a zombie. What? This time, not only Xiaoqing, but even the Qin family members were stunned. She's a zombie. No, how could she be a zombie? When were you bitten? Xiaoqing asked weakly. Why didn't they notice? Weren't zombies supposed to not bite her? Also, if she was a zombie, why was she like a normal person? Chapter 398. Xiaogua, are you kidding me? How can you be a zombie? Tanguo smiled. I'm not kidding. I'm really a zombie. Xiaoqing's mouth twitched. He didn't believe it. Guogua is indeed a zombie. Shurching spoke up for her. Looking at their puzzled expressions, he continued, she was a zombie from the moment you met her. Xiaoqing and the others widened their eyes. If you want to ask why she became a zombie, you have to start from when Guogua left the villa to get medicine for Yan Yi. Speaking of this, Shi Cheng's heart tightened and he felt uncomfortable. What kind of dog was that Yan Yi? She was bitten by a zombie in the pharmacy to get medicine for Yan Yi. Shi Cheng said briefly, as for why she hid it, you should know. Xiao Qing felt bitter and he couldn't help but ask, then what about the jade pendant? It's mine. Tangua didn't care. Yan Yan exchanged it from me with a box of penicillin. As for why it looks different, it's because she dripped blood on it and the jade pendant changed its appearance. No one can use it except her. So, she's lying? Qin Jiaran asked. She didn't doubt Tangua's words. She didn't like Yan Yan from the beginning and always felt that she was a little exaggerated. She performed well, but she had a lot of ulterior motives. Tangua smiled. Yes, why? Do you believe me now? Xiao Qing and the others looked at each other. Did she still have to lie at this time? They were all mourning for Yan Yi. He missed such a person. No matter how she explained, Yan Yi and the others didn't believe her. This was really a slap in the face. Let's go and see our zombie empire. Xiao Qing hesitated. Xiao Gua, do you still want Yan Yi to know the truth? That's not important. Tangua glanced at the nervous Shi Cheng and held his hand. Even if he knows, it won't change the result. It will only make him regret it for the rest of his life. Of course, I hope he will regret it for the rest of his life. At this moment, Qin Jiaran finally understood. Tangua had been acting for so long to leave a deep impression on Yan Yi. When the truth came out in the future, Yan Yi would be in so much pain. This woman was really ruthless. However, she especially admired this kind of woman. You guys have good foresight. Fortunately, I put in a lot of effort back then. Very soon, you will know that this choice is related to your future. You will be very happy. Xiao Qing and the others were speechless. She really knew how to read people's minds. Just the scene in front of them was enough to make them rejoice. After Xiao Qing and the others entered the castle, they were assigned tasks. Tangua and Shi Qing then returned to the Sunset Base. At the same time, the Sunset Base released a message. The captured Yan Yan had been sent to the laboratory and was currently undergoing a very important experiment. The news that was purposely released quickly spread to the other bases. Yan Yi heard the news on the third day. When he heard it, he was obviously stunned and asked subconsciously, she didn't run away. She was so powerful. Once her ability was restored, it should be easy for her to escape. No, it said that she was sent to the laboratory without any resistance. I don't know if she's still alive. Hearing the news from his subordinates, Yan Yi felt his chest tighten as an indescribable feeling filled his heart. He had been thinking about that woman all day. Was she dead? Would she die? He couldn't get rid of it. Chapter 399. Ever since he found out that Tangua had been sent to the laboratory, Yan Yi couldn't help but pay attention to this news. He still hadn't heard of her escape. As for Xiao Qing and the others, ever since they broke into the Sunset Base, there had been no news of them. The spies around the base couldn't find any information about them. Yan Yi felt a little powerless. He couldn't sleep well at night. He actually dreamed of Tangua. Yan Yan quickly noticed Yan Yi's condition and couldn't help being concerned. Ah Yi, what's wrong with you recently? Nothing. Yan Yi's eyes were red. It was obvious that he hadn't rested well. I'm just worried about the base. Isn't our base developing quite well? We're watering it with diluted spiritual spring water and we have fresh vegetables. Since the space had been exposed, Yan Yan planned to take it out. At least, she had to let the sunshine base develop. She knew the ending of the book. The Sunshine Base would be able to control the world in the end. Boss Yen, it's bad. Animals and plants have mutated. There are also unknown powerful creatures. Many mutants have died to them. If you're careless, you'll be eaten by them. Yen Yi stood up. What are they? They should be lickers. They have long tongues. If you're careless, you'll be wrapped up by their tongues. Mutants who are licked by their tongues will have their skin scraped off. Their hearing is very sharp. If there's any movement, they'll be able to detect it. If you're fast or slow, you might die in their mouths. The person who spoke was sweating. Zombies aren't their match. Also, we found that many plants have mutated. They're as ferocious as lickers. Some animals have also started to mutate. They're very powerful. Only mutants can destroy them. The second evolution, Yen said. This was mentioned in the book. Because she knew that humans could survive this crisis, she wasn't that worried. Yen didn't know and didn't dare to delay. If he didn't deal with these and let these mutated animals and plants continue to develop, the survival circle of humans would become smaller and smaller. In less than 2 days, many bases contacted Yen Yi, saying that they needed everyone to deal with the new lickers and mutated animals and plants. For this cooperation, they needed to discuss together. In the end, they set the location of the meeting at the Sunshine Base. Because Yen was there. Previously, everyone thought that Yen Yi would hand Yen over, but paper couldn't hide the truth. Yen was a living person, and it didn't take long for people to find out that she was still in the Sunshine Base. No one was surprised by this result. However, there was no response from the Sunset Base, which made them feel very strange. This time, they had also sent news to the Sunset Base. However, on the day of the meeting, the people from the Sunset Base did not come. They were actually relieved that the Sunset Base didn't come. They were afraid that the Sunset Base would fight with the Sunshine Base. In the end, a few bases reached an agreement to jointly deal with the mutated creatures that appeared during the second evolution. Yen didn't have time to think about Tanghua. He was so busy every day. On the other hand, the days at Sunset Base were unprecedentedly peaceful. When the lickers and mutated animals and plants appeared, they were a little panicked. Later on, the woman who was doted on by their boss brought back a group of zombies. These zombies were very strange. They were fast, powerful, and had a mind of their own. Soon, they exterminated the mutated animals and plants. Chapter 400. Since the apocalypse, what was the most frightening thing for them? Zombies. Now, their mood was very complicated. Who knew that they would be protected by zombies one day? Yes, it was protection. Whether it was the paranormals in the base or the ordinary people, they all had complicated feelings. Looking at those jumping high and tearing up the mutated animals and plants with their bare hands, their eyelids twitched. If they had encountered this group of zombies at the beginning, they would have lost their lives long ago. They have regained their consciousness. Tanghua stared at those people with complicated expressions and smiled. They are from the zombie empire. In the zombie empire, there are only conscious zombies. They have the memories of their lives. Except for their slightly ugly appearance, they are the same as ordinary people. Their thinking is also the same as human beings. In simple words, you are all human beings. Tanghua looked at those people whose faces gradually returned to normal, and some of them were curious, and continued, they eat the same food as us. In the zombie empire, eating raw meat and biting people without any reason is a violation of the zombie empire's law. You will be executed directly. At this moment, many people were curious about where the zombie empire was. Their final evolution will be perfect. They will have the same appearance as ordinary people, but have powerful strength that you don't have. Tangua continued, among them, there may be your relatives. You can look for them. At this moment, everyone was in an uproar. If the zombies no longer bite people and regained their consciousness, and their relatives were also there, then it would be perfect. Don't be afraid. Come and try. You will live together in the future. Tangua's smile made people's scalp tingle. But curiosity overcame fear. Some people were brave enough to come out and look for them in the zombie crowd. One of the braver children couldn't help but pull on a slightly better-looking zombie and ask, "Uncle Zombie, I want to find my mother. I don't know if she's still around. My mother's name is Lisu. She's from the West City." The zombie who was asked looked at the child and said in a stiff tone, "There are many people called Lisu. You can ask more." The child became a lot bolder and asked again. Some zombies' mouths and tongues were damaged, so they couldn't speak. But they still kindly gestured for the child to continue asking. Many people were moved by this scene. They had no choice but to abandon their loved ones who had turned into zombies. If their loved ones had become zombies, but they were still conscious and didn't bite people, they still wanted them to live. Living together didn't seem so difficult. One after another, many people came forward to look for their loved ones in the zombie crowd. Although many of the zombies had changed beyond recognition, they still had the memories of normal people, so they quickly recognized their relatives who were looking for them. The close contact between humans and zombies this time was very successful. Shi Qing held the woman's hand. Guigua's idea is very good. It was perfect. The lickers have already appeared. Now, we need them to move out and bring back the zombies they know. We need them to understand that zombies are a very cute creature. Tangua smiled. They are the kindest creatures in the apocalypse. Yuan Ping chuckled behind them. When he found out that Tangua was actually a zombie, he thought more than once that his boss's taste was really heavy. I've done experiments before. Mutated animals and plants can be used as food for zombies to promote their evolution. The only threat to us is those creatures like the lickers. However, as long as the zombie race evolves quickly, they won't be able to threaten our safety. Chapter 401. The ground was getting more and more dangerous. Both ordinary people and superpowered people could be swallowed by unknown creatures if they were careless. They had no chance to react at all. Fortunately, many bases worked together to protect the survival circle of human beings. However, this was not a problem in the Sunset Base. Now, the people in the Sunset Base were used to being with zombies all day long. They were strong and taciturn. They would not attack humans like ordinary zombies. Among them were their relatives. Tangua said that as long as they found their relatives who had turned into zombies, she would be able to help them regain their consciousness. This made the people in the Sunset Base unprecedentedly excited. They went out with zombies to find other zombies. As the base developed, there were fewer and fewer zombies. Suddenly, many people in the Sunset Base realized that the zombies that they had been afraid of seemed to have gone extinct. Have they all been swallowed by the new mutant creatures? Then what about our living environment? Many people were worried. They were not happy at all that the zombies were gone. Yan Yi also looked serious. Are there no more zombies? I see 2 or 3 sporadically, but they disappear after 2 days. Yan panicked. How could the zombies disappear? The book clearly said that the biological researchers used the spirit spring to develop a drug to kill zombies. That was why the zombies disappeared. How could they disappear? Boss Yen, there are no more zombies now. It's useless to continue developing a drug to kill zombies. Why don't we study how to deal with those mutant creatures instead? Metahumans were dying every day, lickers, and some unknown life forms that suddenly emerged from the ground had become a huge threat to their survival. Okay. Without zombies, studying drugs was useless. Many bases were working hard to study how to deal with the lickers, mutated animals and plants, and new terrifying creatures. The zombie empire had quietly risen, and they were crazily encroaching on the land, driving away all the terrifying creatures. The land that was originally damaged and full of devastation was gradually recovering, becoming the land of the zombie empire. When the zombie empire appeared, the Sunset Base disappeared and was completely included as a member of the zombie empire. The zombie empire was officially renamed the Sunset Empire. The buildings of the Sunset Empire were unified and sturdy castles. Tanguy had asked Emmanuel for the construction method of these castles. The construction method was not complicated, but it was very practical. It could be used locally and was suitable for large-scale human habitation. After the land had been expanded to a certain extent, she stopped expanding. Just as she said, she only wanted to build a paradise for zombies, not to popularize it and save all of humanity. She didn't have the patience or the kindness to do so. The development of a planet was not something that could be changed overnight, and it was not something that could be easily changed by anyone. System, excuses, they're all excuses. The host just wants to see a joke. I've already been very kind. At the very least, I've established this pure land and didn't reject them from seeking protection. Tanguy was leisurely sitting on the recliner, sipping her fruit juice. This kind of life suits my identity. When Qin Jiaran walked in and heard this, she was a little speechless. If the people outside knew about this, they would be furious. Qin Jiaran gave a rare smile and whispered mysteriously, "Do you know what your husband is doing?" "What?" Chapter 402. Shi Qing held a crown in front of Tanguy as if he was presenting a treasure. She was surprised for a moment. She glanced at the crown that was studded with countless diamonds and gems and praised, "It's quite beautiful. Do you want to try it on, Your Majesty?" A doting smile appeared on Shi Chang's cold face. He carefully put the crown on her head and praised, "It really suits Guogua." Tanguy looked at herself in the mirror and smiled. "It looks good. No one is more suitable for it than you." Tanguy looked straight at Shi Qing for a long time and adjusted his collar. "Then what do you want?" "I just want your love," he said sincerely. He said with utmost sincerity. Only her was reflected in his eyes, as if she was the only one in his entire world. He held her hand tightly and couldn't help but wrap his arms around her waist. "I also want your kiss. Of course, I want your body more. You're not greedy at all. So cute." Tanguy held his hand back and her eyes flashed like stars. She looked up with a half-smile. "Cheng, do you want to propose to me while you're at it?" Shi Cheng was stunned for a moment. Happiness came too quickly and he couldn't react. However, his body reacted quickly. He knelt down on one knee and took out the diamond ring that he had prepared long ago. With a sincere expression, he said, "My queen, will you marry me? Seeing how cute you are, I'll make it easier for me to marry you." She extended her slender hand in front of him. Shi Cheng's hand trembled, but he steadily put the diamond ring on her ring finger. With a satisfied expression, he pulled her into his arms and hugged her excitedly. He said softly, "I can't believe it." She agreed just like that. He looked into her eyes and found the love he wanted to see in them. His heart was filled with endless warmth. He was so touched that he wanted to give her the whole world. This time, he didn't ask for her permission and kissed her red lips. The taste was just as he had imagined. It was very good. The system was stunned when it saw the energy value increasing rapidly. Such a situation had never happened before. Every time, the energy value would only increase after a world had left. The host must be very happy. Yes, it must be. Pamper her, pamper her. Shi Cheng, do your best to pamper her. At this moment, the system found Shi Cheng very pleasing to the eye. There was no one more pleasing to the eye than him. The Sunset Empire appeared on the day of the Zombie Queen's coronation and marriage. The entire Sunset Empire was cheering. In this desperate apocalypse, the Sunset Empire was the only paradise, the only pure land. Only those who had experienced the apocalypse understood how precious peace and safety were. To be able to eat a full meal, wear warm clothes, and sleep soundly every day was a luxury. It was the Zombie Queen who had brought them such a pure land. She was someone they would respect forever. They would also bless the Zombie Queen and His Highness, Prince Shi Cheng, for a long time, and their relationship would last forever. But this news spread to all the major bases, and they were all in disbelief. At this time, who would still care about law? The sudden appearance of the Sunset Empire caught them off guard. Soon, they figured out something from the words. Could it be that the Sunset Empire was the Sunset Base? Chapter 403. Why is the person in power called the Zombie Queen? Yen Yi asked in confusion. The subordinate who received the news quickly said, "It said that the Zombie Queen is a zombie, but it's a very powerful zombie with consciousness." Yen Yi was shocked, but he quickly calmed down and glanced at Yen Nian. They had indeed seen a conscious zombie before and were very familiar with it. Yen Nian's hands were also trembling. Why was this different from the book? Was it because of her appearance that this butterfly effect was created? Boss Yen, it's getting more and more dangerous outside. The people close to the Sunset Empire have all sided with them. The best way now is to integrate all the bases. We need to work together to expand the range of human survival. That's right. From the looks of it, the Sunset Empire won't help us unless we submit to them. Let me think about it. Su Ao had already gone to inquire about the news. Su Ao was the conscious zombie. After the last time, he said that he would stay in the dark to protect Yen Nian. Now that he had advanced to level 6, his appearance was much cleaner, but his face still looked abnormal. But he was very powerful. Since Qin Jiaran and the other old members disappeared, there were not many powerful and trustworthy espers around him. Su Ao would never betray him because of Yen Nian. After the meeting, the two went back to wait for news. Not long after, Su Ao returned. "How is it, Brother Su?" Yen Nian was the most concerned. The current apocalypse made her panic. All of this was different from the books she had read. This was no longer a book, but a real world. For the first time, she felt the fear of the unknown. Su Ao's expression was very complicated. Only after digesting the information along the way did he not appear so surprised. The Zombie Queen is indeed a zombie. We think that most of the disappeared zombies were accepted by the Sunset Empire. The zombies there are conscious, don't bite, and can live peacefully with humans. They are food, the same as humans, and even what? Yen Nian couldn't believe it. Was it possible for zombies and humans to live peacefully? But she saw Su Ao in front of her. It was possible. Su Ao continued, 80% of them are zombies, and only 20% are humans. It's like a paradise. There's no danger and it's very peaceful. I saw lickers trying to break in before, but they were destroyed in a few steps. How is this possible? Since they can eliminate the lickers, why don't they eliminate all the lickers? Yen Nian asked subconsciously. Isn't this meaningful to all humans? For the first time, Su Ao couldn't help refuting Yen Nian's words. Nyen Nyen, that's an empire ruled by zombies. It should have been called the Zombie Empire. The reason why it changed its name to Sunset Empire is because the zombie queen's husband, who is now Prince Shurching, was the original boss of Sunset Base. Do you think that the zombies will help humans deal with all the liquors? Humans see zombies as their enemies. Why would they help humans? What Su Ao didn't say was that he was envious. He envied the zombies in the Sunset Empire. They lived a happier life than the humans here. The zombie queen was powerful. She could build an empire and protect all zombies from being exterminated. She could also make zombies and humans live in peace. Compared to him, who was only willing to protect the woman he had a crush on, she was really noble. He heard the zombie queen say, "We are all humans. Why can't we survive on this planet? This is also our right." Chapter 404. Ever since he went to the Sunset Empire to gather information, Su Ao had been a little distracted. With Yen Nyen here, he could only secretly interact with the two of them. After so many years of guarding, their feelings for each other had almost faded. Yen Nyen was no longer the innocent little girl he used to like. She already had Yen Yi and didn't need him for a long time, but he had always been obsessed. Now that he suddenly found a place that belonged to his race, the more he thought about it, the more he wanted to go. He always felt that he should go there, that he should belong there. If he didn't go, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Su Ao thought about it for a long time. When he saw Yen Nyen and Yen Yi being lovey-dovey, she only called him Brother Su when she had something to do. When he occasionally got close to her, he didn't miss the disdain in Yen Nyen's eyes. Su Ao suddenly came to a realization. What was the point of guarding someone who only used him, didn't like him, and even somewhat disliked him? He left a note for Yen Nyen. There were only 3 words, "I'm leaving." Su Ao came to the Sunset Empire alone. The people of the Sunset Empire knew that he was a zombie and came to seek shelter. After reaching level 6, they were especially welcoming. They asked for his opinion and showed him the laws of the Sunset Empire. If he didn't have any objections, he could receive a legal citizen's identity card. The moment Su Ao signed his name, he felt satisfied and a relieved smile appeared on his face. "Master Su Ao, your strength has reached level 6. There aren't many zombies of this level. We need to take you to see Her Majesty and let her personally arrange a position for you." Su Ao nodded and was warmly invited in by a group of humans. Unlike the people outside, the people here looked at him with excitement in their eyes, as if he was a delicious cake. This was really strange. Even ordinary children would tell the people around them, "Wow, another powerful zombie uncle is here. I heard that he's at level 6. He's really powerful." Su Ao's lips curled up. Since becoming a zombie, this was the first time he was watched in such an atmosphere. It was surprisingly wonderful, and a special kind of happiness surged in his heart. Zombie uncle and auntie are really powerful. Many lickers came to cause trouble before, but they were all killed by them. Yeah, last time I had a companion who was almost taken away by a mutant eagle. It was a powerful zombie brother who found him and chased after him to save him. Worship, the people here actually worship zombies. Su Ao's heart was surging. From today onwards, he was going to join the large group here and do the same thing as all the other members. Would these children also worship him like that? "Your Majesty, Your Highness, a level 6 zombie is here." Wu Chu was wearing a tuxedo. He walked in elegantly with a pious expression. "Your Majesty, do you want to see me now?" After Tangua swallowed the last mouthful of food, Shurching carefully wiped the corner of her mouth. Wu Chu was used to this and was very satisfied with Shurchang's behavior. That was how a prince should treat their respected emperor. Let him in. She welcomed level 6 zombies very much, especially those who evolved on their own. Their talents were top-notch. When Su Ao saw the zombie queen, he froze on the spot. Tangguo was also slightly startled. She then smiled and said, "So it's you." Su Ao came back to his senses. He finally understood that she must have discovered him that day, right? Then, just how powerful was she? Chapter 405. Greetings, Your Majesty. Su Ao reacted quickly. He bowed and said, "My name is Su Ao." Tangguo nodded. "I know you. You used to be by Yen Yen's side." "Yes." Su Ao said, "But that's all in the past. Now I'm a citizen of the Sunset Empire and a subject of Her Majesty. Everything in the past has nothing to do with me." "You're quite sensible. You have good taste. You won't be disappointed by choosing this place." Su Ao smiled faintly. Of course, he wouldn't be disappointed. This was where he belonged, even though this zombie queen was outside of his expectations. Although he had many doubts in his heart, it was no longer important. Was a woman who could build the Sunset Empire simple? Was she the kind of woman who deliberately smeared others, framed others, and fought with others for men? He had stayed with Yen Yen for a long time and almost understood the twists and turns. And was this queen really so infatuated with Yen Yi? Perhaps at first, but what about later? She might have her own plans. Tangguo looked at Su Ao's secretly speculating eyes and found it funny. They were all smart and wanted to figure out her thoughts. First, there was Qin Jian, and now there was Su Ao. Actually, she didn't mind at all. Alright, she had purposely shown it to them. Since you're already a level 6 zombie, go and protect the team. Occasionally go out on missions, and usually protect the safety of the Sunset Empire. Su Ao's eyes lit up and he quickly replied, "Okay. Wu Chu, go and arrange a place for him. Stay well. By the way, it's very important before you evolve to level 7. Remember to inform me." Seeing that Su Ao didn't understand, Tangguo continued, "A level 7 zombie's appearance will return to normal. For example, the one next to you is now a level 8 zombie." Su Ao's eyes were shocked. Wu Chu was a level 8 zombie. He thought he was a human before, but then he remembered that Tangguo said he could return to normal at level 7. He was a little excited. The mutated animals, plants, and zombies on the planet can be eaten. After eating, you can absorb energy and advance as soon as possible. If you don't have time, eat more. Su Ao was even more surprised. Could this be? The mutated animals and plants that many people were afraid of were actually food for zombies. This was too unbelievable. As for the liquors and those disgusting things that came out from the bottom, we have to kill them. You don't have to care about those outside. Kill all those who barge in. Su Ao memorized all of this and thought to himself, Her Majesty really holds grudges. He could guess that Yen Yi was probably going to integrate the remaining bases and humans. She must have known that as well. Currently, the Sunset Empire was peaceful and stable, while the people outside were still suffering. He could already imagine how painful Yen Yi's future days would be. He didn't know why, but he actually felt some joy in his heart. Yes, it was pleasure. Su Ao's departure made Yen Yen unhappy for a while, but only for a while. Soon, she and Yen Yi were busy organizing all the bases. Through Yen Yi's various methods, all the bases were finally merged into one, and they were called the Sunshine Base. Yen Yen heaved a sigh of relief. The Sunshine Base was finally in control. It was similar to what she had seen in the novel. The Sunshine Base worked together to build a city and named it Sunshine City. Yan Yi became the city lord of Sunshine City and was called City Lord Yan by the people. However, reality was still unfriendly to human survival. Chapter 406. Yan Yi got people to use Sunshine City as a circle and gradually expand outwards. Before eliminating the mutated animals and plants, as well as abnormal apocalyptic creatures like the lickers, they had to live in sturdy houses. The research on the drug to eliminate these creatures didn't go smoothly. Yan even took out the spiritual spring produced by the jade pendant every day for research, but there were still no results. Once, they went out and encountered a licker. Yan subconsciously used the spiritual spring to water it. Who knew that the licker wasn't hurt and instead chased after Yan even more excitedly? In order to save Yan, everyone except Yan Yi and Yan sacrificed themselves. Seeing her companions being swallowed, Yan became more and more panicked about surviving in the apocalypse. This was different from what was said in the book, completely different. Sunshine City had already been built. Shouldn't they live peacefully and slowly restore the vitality of Earth? Yan was terrified and uneasy. She even had nightmares from time to time at night. Countless times, she wondered if it was because she had snatched Tangua's jade pendant that many things had developed in different directions. She just wanted to change her fate and didn't kill Tangua. Moreover, she was more benevolent than Tangua. She shared the spiritual spring with everyone and unconditionally supported the research of the drug. She didn't use it much herself. Tangua in the book wasn't so kind. She only contributed a little to the base to research the drug every day and hid it the rest of the time. Every day, Sunshine City would be attacked by all sorts of mutated beasts and lickers. The number of deaths was uncountable. Many mutants were used to the panic from the beginning. Only ordinary people were so scared that they didn't even dare to go out. This phenomenon gradually caused Sunshine City to fall into trouble. Not only here, but all places in the world fell into such a disaster. Compared to the Sunset Empire, it could be said to be peaceful. Every person and every zombie had a warm and happy smile on their face. As long as it was the land of the Sunset Empire, there were no mutated plants to cause trouble. 10 years. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed. Through the efforts and resistance of people all over the world, the mutated creatures were driven to desolate places. Many lickers were also eliminated, and the rest fled to uninhabited areas. The forces all over the world were also wiped out, but no matter where it was already full of devastation. The apocalyptic crisis brought irreparable pain to the entire planet. Animals and plants were greatly reduced, especially plants. If one was not careful, they could become mutated plants. For the safety of humans, they had no choice but to cut down a large number of unknown plants. When he came back to his senses, he realized that he had made a very wrong decision. After the human survival circle was safe, it was too late for them to restore life to the land. Many lands were no longer suitable for planting. All kinds of green vegetables and fruits already existed only in their memories. They might not have the chance to taste them in their lifetime. The situation in Sunshine City was slightly better. With the support of the spirit spring in Yan's jade pendant, many vegetable and fruit seeds were preserved, as well as a small amount of land that could still be used. The Sunshine Base changed a few years ago. It was no longer called the Sunshine Base, but the Sunshine Empire. Yan Yi was the ruler of the Sunshine Empire. Yan was still panicking because she found that the spiritual spring in the jade pendant was getting less and less. Until one day, when she took the spirit spring water in front of Yan Yi, she found that the land inside the jade pendant had turned into a desert. The vegetables and fruits that were planted there had also dried up and disappeared. The jade pendant also changed under Yan Yi's gaze. Looking at the familiar jade pendant interface, Yan Yi's expression changed drastically. Chapter 407. It should be about time, right? Tangguo wore a gorgeous dress and leaned lazily in Shi Chang's arms. The two sat on the throne together, and the people below were already used to it. Since the first day of her reign, their queen had been sitting on the throne with the prince. Even at the most serious time, she still leaned on his shoulder as if she had no bones. What was the scariest thing for the people of the Sunset Empire? Naturally, it was their queen and prince showing off their love all the time, completely ignoring their fragile hearts that had been hurt by the apocalypse. For example, Her Majesty the Queen said something out of the blue after they finished reporting the matter. It should be about time. They looked at each other, not quite understanding what the Queen meant. She couldn't help but turn to look at the man who had a cold face but only had a doting smile on his face. Your Highness, could you please explain to me what Her Majesty the Queen meant? Neither the people of the Sunset Empire or the zombies knew how powerful the Queen was. They only knew that someone wanted to rebel, and that person was already a level 8 mutant. However, as soon as he rushed up, he was slapped into the floor by the Queen. That hole was very deep. The prince didn't ask anyone to fill that hole. Instead, he named it Her Majesty's Hole. Nowadays, every time the palace opened a room to the public, countless people would pay a high entrance fee to visit Her Majesty's Hole. How's the situation outside recently? Tangguo asked. She had set up such a chess game, and it had been more than 10 years. It should be realized now. She didn't know what was waiting for Yan Yan, and what Yan Yi would do. She was looking forward to it. When she went to see Yan Yan for the last time, she even beat her up. She didn't really want to take the jade pendant, but just did something to it. It was originally the original owner's, so it didn't make sense for Yan Yan to keep using it and getting benefits. She directly announced the truth, so Yan Yi wouldn't feel what it was like to be deceived, and he wouldn't feel the heartache. Yan Yi must have a deep impression of the jade pendant when he saw it become something he used to be familiar with. What made Yan Yi even more regretful was that, in his mind, the person who had abandoned him was already dead, and he had personally sent him away. Thinking of that scene, he probably hated that he couldn't cut his own heart piece by piece. Tangguo narrowed her eyes and smiled. Not only that, she also left a lot of souvenirs for Yan Yi in the small compartment in the villa. These souvenirs were enough for him to reminisce for a while. The people below only felt that it was chilly. There was no wind blowing in, so how could it be chilly? Besides, wasn't it summer? Why was it that they couldn't help but shiver? They couldn't help but raise their heads to see their queen's sly smile and their prince's affectionate gaze. Everyone cursed in their hearts at the same time. What the fuck? System, host, Xian Sage has already developed the item you requested. What is it? Tangguo was a little confused. She had asked her friends in the group to help her with many things over the years. She had indeed forgotten about it. The system sighed. It was angry. The host was living too happily. A pipe dream. Chapter 408. Tangguo smiled. Yes, a golden millet dream. I specially prepared a final gift for Yan Yi. This is also a big surprise. A golden millet dream was a dream of the past and present life. It would definitely let Yan Yi experience how the original owner of the body ended up in that tragic world. The original owner of the body was so miserable. Why could Yan Yi still be in charge so easily? He had to suffer for the rest of his life. Every day he stayed in his territory was a day of pain, but he had no choice but to continue. Just as Tang Guo thought, when Yan Yi saw the jade pendant change into a familiar appearance with his own eyes, he subconsciously grabbed the jade pendant in his hand. The word Tang was engraved on the corner of the jade pendant. He and Tang Guo were fiancés, so he had naturally seen this jade pendant around her neck. He had asked Tang Guo about this jade pendant. She had said that it was her family's jade pendant and was very important. She was the only girl in the family's generation, so her father had given this jade pendant to her. When the apocalypse came, there was no news of father and mother Tang. Later, he asked around and found that they were long dead. He still clearly remembered that Tang Guo had said that even if she was about to starve to death, she couldn't hand this jade pendant over to exchange for anything. This was what Father Tang had instructed. Yan Yi thought of everything that had happened yesterday and squeezed the jade pendant that had returned to its original state. There was no need to ask anything. Everything was clear. His eyes were red and he couldn't help but cry. Drop by drop, they fell on the jade pendant. He quickly wiped them clean with his sleeve. A sense of regret and anger surged in his heart. At this moment, he really wanted to tear himself apart. The jade pendant belonged to Tang Guo, but it had been possessed by Yan Yan for more than 10 years. There was no need to find out the truth. Yan Yan was lying. He carefully put the jade pendant into his pocket. Yan Yan tried to take it back with her mind, but suddenly found that she couldn't move it. It was as if the connection between her and the jade pendant had been broken. Yan looked at her abruptly, causing her to tremble in fright. Her face was pale as she hurriedly said, "Ah, listen to me. It's not what you think. I picked up this jade pendant. I really picked it up. When I picked it up, it was already like this." Really? Yan Yi was in charge of the Sunshine Empire and had struggled in the apocalypse for so many years. He could tell whether Yan Yan was telling the truth or not. The reason why he was deceived was because he was abandoned by the person he loved. At that time, he was just a young man who had just graduated from university and had just made a name for himself in the apocalypse. His heart was filled with vengeance and hatred. No matter what Tang Guo said at that time, he would not believe her. Instead, he would think that she was a sweet talker, an actress, and a liar. He didn't believe that his timid fiancée would rush out of the villa and face those disgusting and terrifying zombies in order to get the medicine for him. Yan Yan's timely appearance made him, who had been abandoned, feel a sense of warmth. If it wasn't for the jade pendant being restored to its original appearance today, he wouldn't have thought too deeply about it even if there were various suspicious points in his mind. For more than 10 years, Yan Yan had been gentle and generous. She was his good wife. And in the end, to hell with the virtuous wife, this woman was clearly the one with the heart of a snake and scorpion. Every time he recalled the past, his heart ached. Tell me the truth. Yan Yi gritted his teeth. What she said is the truth, right? Yan Yan's face was pale and she kept retreating. How could this be? How could the jade pendant be restored to its original appearance?